in this part we're going to set up the terrain and get the tabletop ready for a game. So if we go to the Guerre module, open it, we'll be using the, you'll need the rule book set to the terrain section on page 63 of the rule book. Okay, so this is the default game setting. So the first thing we'll do when we go in is we'll remove the default armies that are there. So you just drag a box over this Anglo-Saxon army, I think. Oh, it's Alexander the Great. Anyway, drag a box over that and press delete. And the opposing side, delete. Unless you're going to use that module, of course, and use those armies. This is supposing you've made a custom army from the previous part 1 of this series. So we have a blank. We have no armies there. A blank tabletop. What's the first thing we'll do is, so this is the army list. This is Alexander the Great at the moment. So you can just right click on that. Go to the custom section of that menu, and then change that for your army list. So I'm going to put the Swiss army on this side. Press cloud, upload, import, and that will change. Now that army list is now my Swiss army list. I'm going to Control C on that, Control V, copy it to the other side of the table. In that list, I will right click on that, custom, and change that to the medieval German list for the other army we made. Okay, so now that's the medieval Germans on that side. Next thing to do, we could import our armies now to replace the ones we just took off. Go to your saved objects, in objects at the top. There they are. So this army has just been arranged as core 1, core 2, core 3. When we come to deployment, we will actually be able to do a hidden deployment order. This card is hidden inside this grey box here, so it's okay for our opponent to see the army. This isn't necessarily the way they're going to be deployed on the table. I'll just switch around to the German side and put their army on the table too. Something new that I did do in the setup of the armies was to put some additional labels into. I did show you how to do the labeling. So I've now put in a description for my commanders to say which corps they're commanding, what type of general they are. So to do that, it's just right click on the thing and you have the main label that comes up, and then there's a description which also comes up a second later, which you can edit. And I've also, for the troops, I've given them an extra description saying which corps they're in. So the same thing, I put in corps 1. This helps on the battlefield when, especially light troops, might get mixed up with troops from the neighbouring corps on the field. So it's good to have a label saying which corps they belong to. Makes it a bit clearer. Okay, so on to our tabletop and the terrain. over here we have these little bags, and these are containing parts of the game that we need. So this bag is for deployment. This bag is for terrain. So I just close this. Hold on. And if I press the place button next to this bag, it will lay out a neat grid for the terrain placement. So we can have this on there whilst we're doing the terrain placement. The recall button, when we're finished, puts it back in the bag. So here are the free zones. And the corresponding dice numbers. So the first thing we do in the game is to decide who has the initiative and who's attacking, who's defending. So we're looking at the two armies. The Germans have initiative of 2 over there, and the Swiss have 2 as well. So it's an even dice roll between them. So when I'm playing solo games, I'll use 2 different coloured dice for the 2 sides. So I'm using the blue dice will be the Germans, and the red dice will be the Swiss. So you can just shake the dice and letting go the mouse button. So here we see the Swiss have won the initiative, so the Swiss will attack. So we'll just go back round to the Swiss side. Using the right button to rotate the table. Something else we can do here. I want to show you that the keyboard controls are all accessible from within the game. You go to the menu button up here and look at the help menu. You can see all the useful keys at any time during the game. What I want to do as I'm playing the solo game here is to be able to switch between the Swiss and the German side. So if you see here, we can save camera views and load camera views. So Control and a number will save a camera, and then Shift and that number will go to that camera view anytime we want. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to get the Swiss view of the table. That'll be Control 1. Let's save the camera. I'll go around to the German side. Control 2 will save that one. So now when I hit Shift 1, it will automatically switch to the Swiss side. Okay. So the Swiss have decided to attack the Germans in the forest. So we'll just switch back to the German defender side, and we're going to go into this bag. If we right click on that, you can search the bag, and it shows the contents of that bag on this side, where we have our familiar terrain elements. So if we just take the large woods, which is the compulsory element for the Germans, just put it on the edge of the table there. Just going to zoom in on that wood a minute and fill it out. So in the items, there's also some trees there called orchard. Just going to drop a couple of these trees on top of this element here. I'll just copy it by Control C. Oops. Sorry, copied the whole thing. Control C on the tree. Control V. Just put a couple more on there. A little bit more of a convincing wood. And because the trees are separate, if we need to move them to let troops in, we can. Okay, so there's the compulsory element for the Germans that they can put on their side, and they can choose up to 2 more. So we'll get them to pick, say, a brush. Now bit small for their liking as the defender. So maybe if you think it's small, you can right click on it, and there's a scale button. You can scale up. Each click takes it up a little bit, so make that a little larger. And you can rotate it, maybe more useful frontage. If you are scaling these, you can just check the size doesn't go over the maximum or minimum allowed using the UD sticks. So that's one choice, and the Germans will pick, say, a Marsh as well. Okay, so they've chosen 2. The Swiss can choose 2 as well, so they'll take a wood as well. So we just copy that over to the Swiss side of the table. Okay, that's the Swiss wood, and Swiss will take a hill as well. There's 2 elements for the Swiss as well. 2 for the Germans, 2 for the Swiss. According to the rule book, is page 67. Placing terrain, the Germans will place their compulsory element on their side of the table. So, what? Okay, so there's a wood on the German side, and then they can place one of their items. So we'll need a pair of dice. Don't use white dice because they could get mixed up with these ones. So we'll take a red dice and a blue dice, and the red will be the zone and the blue will be its position. So for the Marsh, first of all, just pick up with the left mouse button, shake the dice, let go. You let go of the mouse button, it will roll them. Sometimes they're cocked, the same as in the real game. They land on something. This one looks fine. So our Marsh is going into zone 4 over there, the Swiss side, and it's got to be against an edge. So put it right to the back. That isn't much use. And switch the view to the top-down view, make this a bit easier. Press P. Okay, now we can see touching the edge properly. Okay. Okay, and now the brush element. Just roll the dice again. This time it's in zone 5, again on the Swiss side, again touching an edge, so it has to be the back edge. So we put the brush down there. Okay. Turn around. The Swiss side. Swiss will place their woods. Zone 5 and 4 means it has to touch an edge as well. So that's probably there. And there is a hill. Zone 5 again, but this time it can be in the field, so we'll put that in a position that might advantage the Swiss there. They can rotate it as well. Okay, and then so they're the position. So now they each have 2 attempts to move things. So the Germans have 2 attempts to move some terrain. Just view this from the German side. So viewing this from the German side, they have 2 attempts to move the terrain. They would probably appreciate that hill on their side, so we'll try and move that. 5 is good. Up to 6 UD, so they'll just take that over to their side. think that will do. I don't think we need to move anything else. So switching to the Swiss side, the 2 attempts to move things, so they could try and take these woods to their side. A 1 won't do anything though, so an attempt to move the hill. A 3. Up to 4 UD, so they can have that back. Get the sticks, measure it exactly this time. Take it from that point. Cursor stays relative, so you can use that as a marker point. And just puts the hill back on the Swiss side again. So that's the terrain layout for this game. So you go back to the recall the measurements of the terrain. Press the recall button. They go back in that bag and leave our terrain on the field as we need them. Now, when we move units about on these, they could accidentally be picked up and moved or shifted. So the best thing to do would be to lock all these into place, and you can do that by selecting the base and right click on it, and then there's a toggle section with a lock. Hit the lock, and now those woods cannot be moved, but the individual trees can still be moved around if need be. But the base, which is the important perimeter, can't be moved. Do that to the others. Lock the hill. Lock the other woods. Lock the marsh. And lock the brush. Okay, so those are all in place now and can't be shifted. So our terrain is ready. Move anything else off. And we'll be ready for deployment in the next stage. Possibly once you've got your terrain and you've got this far, you might want to save your game. Saving the game is quite easy. You just go to Games, and hit the Save and Load button, and then hit the Create button, and you can name your game. And save it in case something happens, you have to stop, or your computer crashes, or anything else. Okay, so that's ready for the next stage, which will be deployment.